Sometimes in a painting, things actually go as planned, and for me, the trees were not that difficult to do, but difficult does not mean they were not tedious, especially if you try to capture as many little branches as possible. While doing this painting, I tried to distinguish between the sky and the clouds. For the softer ones, I laid in blue for the sky and then went back in with some whites and used a dry brush to blend the sky and the clouds together. But for the clouds that have more form, I added highlights and also made them darker in the center because the sun can't pierce more dense clouds as easily as the softer ones. For the trees, I did them actually branch for branch. I did not copy the photo exactly, but I did nitpick on certain branches that I liked and tried to kind of like be a graphic designer when creating most of the branches. I invented them as I went along. I did use certain branches that stood out and then created a lot of the little ones, but I did try to look at the photo to get an idea of a sort of pattern to use again and again and again. And there's certain areas of the tree I would go back into again. Also, there's like certain branches that are on the softer side and some that are more on the harsher side. And then again, there's leaves. Usually for the leaves, whenever I do trees, I usually wait to the very end. I try to establish the skeleton of the tree first and then go back and add the leaves. And in certain situations, I would add part of the sky back into the tree, especially in areas where I felt like I messed up, or areas where I went too soft, by merging them with the sky, by using a dry brush to blur them. Keep in mind, a tree is not flat when it's a silhouette. It appears flat, but there's volume in a tree. Some branches go towards you, some recede in the picture plane, and some go left or right. So the direction of the branches will give you an idea of the volume of the tree as well, plus all the little branches. Same goes for everything else that you paint. If you think of it as a three-dimensional item instead of a two-dimensional thing on a picture plane, you'll paint it differently. Even for silhouettes. The trees in the bottom are not as tall as the one all the way in the left. Also, it's perspective. It makes sense that as you go into the vanishing point of the center of the road, you're gonna have trees getting smaller and smaller to give you a sense of depth and distance. Also, besides getting smaller, I emphasize slightly warmer blacks and cooler ones towards the end. At one point I started to do the mountains again because I didn't like how they looked. I wanted them to be more submerged in fog, and in order to get that effect I had to reapply paint both in the mountains and also in the fog in the bottom, and then use a dry brush to blend the fog and the mountains together where they meet. This gave me the opportunity to redo the sky also, and something important to do to give the illusion of depth is to soften the edges of something that's all the way in the distance. So after applying the paint for the mountains and the sky again, I would go back with a dry brush to soften the edges, even if it's just for a little bit. Also, this gave me the opportunity to create some kind of hazy looking things in the distance that I saw in the photo. To be honest, I'm not sure if there was buildings or tree lines. I don't know what it is in Greece, but there's these weird rails that kind of don't go the distance, and they kind of just stop at one point and go into the ground. I felt it was important to include it because people from Greece will know what I'm talking about, I hope. Also, it's not visible yet. There's actually a car on the road, and it's actually a very important object because it will give you a sense of scale in the end. But as right now, I'm going to wait later to paint it. The trees to the right were kind of hard to film, so sorry if my hand kind of gets in the way. Anyhow, again, I applied many branches and I used a photo as a reference to establish ones I liked and kind of invented most of them. Again, there's different color leaves behind the branches to establish some distance and three-dimensionality. Also keep in mind, the leaves will be darker if they're all bunched together. It all comes down to sunlight. A thicker batch of leaves will be more dense and darker than a small batch. As stated before, when doing a tree, it's easier doing the leaves in the end when you build the skeleton first. As you can see, the trees on the right side are more developed, so adding the leaves are a lot easier. And also, variations of leaves help. Some big, some small, some in clusters, some blurry, some sharp. The variation's key. To further create perspective in this painting, I actually made the trees going to the vanishing point of the road thinner, and also used a little bit of blue and white into the paint to kind of make them not as dark. Also, since it's a foggy day, it makes sense that things closer to you are going to be more clear, and things more into the distance are going to be on the softer side. Also, I couldn't see all the trees clearly in the photo, but I did my best to kind of create an illusion of a bunch of different leaves and branches by just using lots of strokes of paint and color. It might seem tedious, but again, branch for branch, twig for twig. Take a look at a tree next time you get a chance, and you'll see there's quite a lot of little branches among the branches, and I definitely tried to create as many as possible to mimic the photo. And then there's the sky. If there was anything I could have done differently, it would have been to actually start the sky first and then the trees in the end. I don't know if the painting would have turned out the same, but certain areas would have been easier to do. Plus, I realized in the end, this painting was about the mountains in the beginning, and towards the end, it started becoming more about the clouds in the sky and how they're splitting and parting ways, hopefully for a clear sky in the end. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. This painting is actually finished, and I will post more videos soon, so stay tuned for more. Also, I'll probably post the final picture on my Instagram if you want to check it out. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.